This is Julie McMillan. This is my informative speech, and here we go. We're going to introduce to you all of the audience members. So, ready? Here. We'll start with you, and your name is?
Daniel.
All right, excellent. And next to you, we have?
Diana.
Excellent, thank you, Diana. And here we go. Hi.
Hi, I'm Kristen.
Nice to meet you, Kristen. Hi.
I'm Tony.
Tony,
Yes.
great, thank you.
And Sean.
Great, thank you, Sean. Okay. So, oh, here, wait, Sean is gonna video. So here you go. Yeah. Well, let's let Sean, are you good, Sean?
I am.
Okay. Ha ha ha, of course I'm not. Ha ha ha.
Did the lights a little bit? Like easier to
Yes,
see.
I do. Can you do that for me? It's in the corner. Okay. Can you see me okay, Sean? And you can see my visual?
Looks great.
Okay, excellent. All right, ready? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, thanks for coming. And today, I'm going to start my speech actually with a prayer. And I promise I'm not going to try to convert you to a new religion, but I want to talk about the Serenity Prayer and how it helped me with my autoimmune disorder. So it's God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And it's this line between the things I can change and the things I cannot that has sent me down this journey. And it's through removing foods and adding foods that has given me, but can give anybody that has an autoimmune disorder, a new lease on life. And I'm living proof because 5 years ago, I spent my life moving from the bed to the couch, and back to the bed, and back to the couch. And I literally could not do anything. I had about 4 hours of energy a day to get the things done that I needed to do. And now, I'm living life fully. So this is the transformation. So what were the symptoms that I had? I had fatigue, I couldn't think, I couldn't organize, I had this non-specific pain throughout my body that I just couldn't tell you where it hurt, but everything hurt all the time. And doctors looked at me like I had two heads, and they had zero answers for me. And I thought for a long time that this was my lot in life, and that this is where I was going to be, like moving from the bed to the couch. Until one day, this prayer woke me up and said, Julie, you got to find a way to control this. And I started researching, and I read dozens of books, thousands of articles, and hundreds of research protocols. And what I found was that there's way more that we can control than what doctors will tell us. And I'm not trying to convince you to do anything. I just want to inform you because there are so many people out there with autoimmune disorders that just don't know what they can do with themselves and how they can affect their health. And what I ask of you as my audience is that you listen with your friends and family in mind, right? Listen to where you could potentially share this and say, hey, you could do something about this. And so in today's speech, I'm going to provide you with a brief summary of autoimmune disorders, a quick overview of the relationship between food and the immune system, and a super simple introduction to elimination diets, and then show you a couple of quick results. So let's start with autoimmune disorders and some basic information. I have a lot to cover, so I'm going to go quickly. Some of it I'm just going to let you read it, okay? But first, this one, the definition of an autoimmune disorder is a number of disorders or diseases in the body where the immune system actually turns on the body itself and attacks its own cells. And some statistics are pretty amazing. I'm not going to beat you over the head with them, but 1 in 5 people in the US has an autoimmune disorder. 75% of those people are women. Over 50 million Americans have autoimmune disorders, and just to compare, 12 million people have cancer. So there's a lot. It's a huge epidemic. Hundreds of autoimmune disorders are out there. These are some of them. But the one you may or may not know is diabetes. And it's not totally proven, but probably autism as well. So how do you get diagnosed? Most people will spend an average of 5 years and a minimum of 5 doctors to even get their first diagnosis. And then doctors come and say, not much I can do for you. And then by the time people are done, they end up with at least 3 or 4 more autoimmune disorders. And that's where we're focusing here, is to hopefully slow that progression. So what happens? Why do we end up with autoimmune disorders? It's a trifecta of things. It's genes, also known as bad luck, environment, also known as bad luck, and individual choices, also known in our conversation as food. So genes, genes we're in early research, right? But we know about the MTHFR gene. And what's interesting about genes is that your environment and your food and exercise can turn on or turn off gene expression. So to some degree, we still have control over how our genes are affected. Environment, you can see that. It's mold, toxins, all the things that are bad for us, some sort of bacterial infection. So now let's talk about food and the relationship with autoimmunity. Doctors tend to talk about individual autoimmune disorders as though that organ is broken. So I have an underactive thyroid, and literally my doctor was like, oh yeah, it's gonna shrink and shrink and shrink until it disappears. And you're just gonna have to live with that. Like, your thyroid is broken, it doesn't work correctly. Well, that may be true at this point in my life because I've had it for a very long time. But the fact is that it's not just one organ that you're dealing with in autoimmunity, it's everything. But the biggest thing with autoimmune disorders is food. Why do we know that? Because diet affects every system and function of our body. 80% of our immune system lives in the gut. So we come to food, that's the thing we can control. Some foods irritate our gut, and some things feed the overgrowth of bacteria. And so we get this thing called leaky gut. And leaky gut, it's basic science. We even talk about it in basic anatomy and physiology. So this is not complex. Every doctor knows about it. There's a million protocols out there on it. And what happens is these cells become leaky. They separate and they become perforated by the irritation from the food, right? And so then they allow large particles of food in, the bacteria gets into your body, all sorts of things, and your immune system inside your body starts attacking your own cells instead of the microorganisms or bacteria that's in there, right? And the immune system becomes super confused. And we end up with nutrient depletions, immune system imbalances, inflammation, infections in the body. And you can imagine if you have large particles of food coming into your body that it's not being broken down and you're not getting the appropriate micronutrients that your body needs, right? And the immune system becomes super confused and you end up with inflammation. And it's not going to be just in your gut, it's going to be everywhere. It's going to be your brain, knees, hips, right? So if you avoid the irritants, then it allows your gut to heal. So how do you do it? Let's talk about elimination diets. What is it? It's the process of eliminating foods that might trigger you, all potential foods. We know that through research for somewhere between 30 and 90 days, and then eventually reintroducing them one at a time, right? Elimination diets, there are a lot of them out there, but the gold standard is the autoimmune protocol diet, and that's because it covers all of the different type of topics and triggers that could be happening. You can do an allergy test, but there is a huge potential for false positives. So save yourself some money, just do an elimination diet. I talked all about that. So what gets eliminated? You get rid of grains, which is why we have all that gluten-free stuff. Beans, legumes, peanuts. What are nightshades? That's tomatoes and soy and peppers. That's a family of foods, right? There's lots of categories of foods. And in addition to all of these things, you want to make sure you get rid of processed sugars and alcohol because they are huge. They feed the gut and they feed that bacteria. So then you add in foods because, you know, once you've taken out all these huge categories of food, you got to eat something, right? You want to eat nutrient-dense food. So it is a focus on vegetables. You want to have proteins. You want to have carbs, but you're going to get those from fruits and root vegetables and things like that. You want to have some healthy fats. And then this chart is just another version of the one we just saw, but you see like half your plate is vegetables, at least, right? And then why do we do it? Because this is the short list of symptoms that actually disappear when you clean up your food allergies and your food triggers. I mean, anxiety and depression is top on that list. Let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of the fatigue, right? So in conclusion, you can change your body, you can change your hormones and the way your body functions just by changing your food. Did you know that doctors only get 1 semester of training on nutrition? And you've now been here, so now you have just as much information as they do. No, I'm joking, but you know, you can't just do food. Sometimes you can change your life just through food, but most of the time it's an all-out fight. You got to do food, you got to do supplements, you got to do medications, you got to, you know, change your exercise methods maybe. But it's worth it because you end up being able to live a full and joyous life that you never knew that you could have, or that you'd forgotten about all those years ago. So this was a super shallow overview and of autoimmune disorders, food, and its relationship to the immune system, and then what you can do about it. Change is hard, but always worth it. And food is medicine. Thanks so much.